Hey guys, before we get into whether or not autopilot has a future in autocrossing, I just wanted to take a moment to tell you guys how much I appreciate all of you. The amount of support I received from my first voiceover video I posted a couple days ago was completely unexpected and absolutely astounding. Before I uploaded it, I had my wife watch it to make sure it wasn't terrible, and I actually made her use headphones because I couldn't stand the sound of my own voice and was honestly embarrassed to even show it to her in the first place. That pretty much tells you where I'm at as a content creator, but your overwhelmingly positive response to this video has really lit a fire under me and makes me want to keep creating these kinds of videos. So thank you again, and please keep the comments and suggestions going. I really do read them all. I have noticed when driving by objects on the road, like tree branches or other things, they sometimes display as different colored dots on the visualization. In this video, I want to test what kind of objects the full self-driving beta controls for, and what kind of objects it ignores. Keep in mind that if you're watching this in the future, even by a week or two, the behavior will likely be different. We're getting new full self-driving beta firmware about every week, and the video you're seeing now will potentially be outdated, and autopilot could control for these objects differently in the future. So please keep that in mind. We are going to start off with an object that autopilot should be very familiar with, which is a traffic cone. It has been rendering traffic cones for quite a while now, and it definitely should know what they are. These tests will start simple and get progressively more difficult as the video goes on. So as you can see, a cone partially blocking part of the road, autopilot deals with wonderfully. Also, quick shout out to my amazing, wonderful wife, Carol, who you can see throughout this video. She's the one setting up all the courses you're about to see and has the mosquito bites to prove it. On an unrelated note, throughout this video, try to notice how quickly the autopilot visualization is able to detect her standing on the side of the road, even when it gets really dark in the later parts. She is displayed on the box on the visualization well before I could actually see her, which is absolutely amazing. Test number 2 going very well with the cone in the center of the road. Autopilot basically just goes into the oncoming lane to avoid it. No issues at all. In this next test, we're testing the cone blocking the left-hand side of the lane instead of the right. Autopilot just leans to the right a little bit and handles this one wonderfully as well. Now we get into some of the more difficult ones. Now we have the cones set up about the same width from each other as the car is in the center of the lane. And I wanted to test here if autopilot would try to move towards the center or if it would actually try to move all the way around it. It handles this actually pretty well. Really slows down to almost a crawl trying to go around here, but it does handle this very, very well. I'm actually going to do one more test on the same exact course without moving the cones at all to see what happens. In the second run, you can see autopilot handles this very gracefully. Actually doesn't even slow down very much at all, just goes around the cones and goes right back into its lane. So I was actually pretty impressed with this one. Next up, we have a fully closed road. We got 3 cones all the way across. No way autopilot can make it through any of those gaps. Let's see what it does. And this was probably the best outcome possible. Autopilot just stopping, not attempting to go through any of these. Weird tweak of the steering wheel here. I don't know what it's thinking, but it did stop for this, so awesome. Next object we'll be testing that autopilot would definitely not have responded to in the past is an upright paper bag. Again, we're going to start with this one on the right-hand side of the lane, kind of easy, and then it'll get progressively more difficult. Autopilot handles this one well too. You can actually see, I'll go back here, you can actually see it pick it up on the visualization, which is pretty cool to see. This definitely wouldn't have happened on the older versions of autopilot. Now we're going to up the difficulty again. What is autopilot going to do with the bag in the center of the road? We shall see. Looks like it definitely thought about trying to avoid it, but ends up just running over the bag. We are going to do that same test, but double. Plastic bag on the left, paper bag on the right. Looks like autopilot actually did start tracking both objects momentarily, but did end up running over both. This next test is both bags again, but slightly more off to the side of the road instead of directly in the center. Although it appears on the GoPro footage that autopilot ran over this bag, it actually avoided it by maybe an inch. This clip really makes me think the position of the object within the lane really determines how autopilot will react to it. This next test is pretty interesting. I used both bags again. This time, one on the right-hand side of the road and one towards the center. And then we put the cone on the left-hand side of the lane to see if it would choose to run over the bags versus going around the cone. And surprise, surprise, autopilot actually avoids the bags and goes around the cone. Very slowly, but it does it. Here you can see autopilot contemplating whether it wants to kill those bags, if it's drivable space, or if it wants to go all the way around. Like, I think this is so interesting to watch. To ensure that wasn't a fluke, we're going to run the same test again. Everything is in the exact same position, nothing has been touched. And this was very close to the same behavior we saw previously. Now we're bringing out the cones again, but we're going to up the difficulty a little bit. Let's see how autopilot deals with this slalom course up here. I must say, I am pretty impressed with that. Very, very nice. And as indecisive as it seems on the visualization, in the car this actually felt very smooth. Alright, let's try another cone slalom, except this time the cone's much closer together. Autopilot basically made me look like a fool here. Like, I thought that would be really difficult, but man. And here again you can see autopilot choosing the path of least resistance through this. Alright, our last object to test is the bucket that I use to wash my car. This one can actually damage my car, so I exercise a little bit of extra caution. Hopefully that's understandable. First off, like usual, we're going to take it a bit easy and try the left hand and right hand side of the lane. Right hand goes well, object was seen and controlled for, so let's go ahead and try the left hand side. A little close for comfort, but it did see it, control for it, and avoid it, so great job. Our next bucket test is going to be directly in the center of the road. Let's see how it handles this one. Did not start controlling for this one soon enough for me. I had to take over. I did take over at the exact time it started displaying on the instrument cluster, but I felt like I definitely had to take over there, and I think that probably would have ran over it, similar to the plastic bag in the center of the road. Alright, in these last couple of tests I started running out of ideas, so we got all 3 cones in the center of my lane, and then we have the bucket to the left. Let's see if it'll run over the bucket to get around these cones. Nope, it does not appear so. Alright guys, that's it. Did you remember to look for the pedestrian visualization? Because I guarantee you if you go back through this video, you'll be amazed on how soon it picked it up through every frame. I know I was. Anyways, thanks again for watching. Please like it if you like it and subscribe if you'd like to. Thanks for watching. Bye.